Hi, and welcome to the next episode from the book, The Potent Power of Menopause. It's an incredibly diverse group of women coming together to share their perspectives on menopause, this amazing phase in women's lives. And today I am joined by the fabulous Sue Winsbury, who is the Energy Queen.
Hello, Kate.
Hello, it's so lovely to have you here. So, your chapter, Menopause, Bringing Home the Body, Mind and Soul. Before we get into the sort of key points for today, do you just want to give me a brief synopsis of what the chapter's about?
So, yes, my chapter, it's the mind, body and soul approach to menopause. I've got a long background in holistic therapies and well-being, so I understand the physical process very well, and I wanted to help explain that to people. I also think we go through a big emotional transition, and I was going through a lot of life changes, kind of from the whole perimenopause through to the ongoing bits of menopause, and the soul transition, because this is a long forgotten part of a female's growth and evolution into real wisdom that's it's been squeezed out of society. So I wanted to really cover that as well.
It's so unspoken about, isn't it? The soul part of this, how it connects to you and how it changes you at a much deeper level.
Yeah, absolutely. And years ago, before, dare I say it, patriarchal control kind of had its way with women and their cycles and our true natural sort of powers. Menopause was recognized. We were known as the crone. It was the crone phase, which has now been given such a terrible association of
Yes.
words, but it was a very revered point in a woman's life where she was respected and acknowledged for her wisdom and um, her mothering ability and just her knowledge accumulated through the years. And we were like the wise old women of the tribes, and let's bring that back.
I like the idea of being a wise, not necessarily old, but
No, less of the old.
yeah, wise woman. I like that idea. One of the things about menopause is that we arrive at this phase in our life completely unaware of what's going to hit us, what's going to come. Most of us don't have a mother who sat us down and talked about it, and their mother certainly didn't sit them down and talk about it. So we're in this bizarre situation, aren't we?
Yeah, and I think education around menopause is just so lacking. And I think about when I was a young girl, my mum sat me down, talked to me about periods. I went to school fully equipped, waiting for the day, and you're all ready. You know exactly what to expect, even though it's still a little bit of a shock when it happens, but you're generally primed and ready. And yet suddenly, with this much bigger transition, what are we told? Well, you're going to get hot flushes and it's going to be awful. And you might be depressed. And that's kind of it. And that's not how it necessarily is, how we can approach it. There's so much more to it.
Awareness is one of the greatest gifts you can give to yourself as you approach this.
Part of my thinking sort of over the years, and the way that I've worked with a lot of menopausal women, is that actually, if we could think about it much younger and start looking at our stress levels and our stress patterns throughout our entire lives, not just suddenly when we get to sort of perimenopause, and even looking at the products that we use on our skin, on our bodies, I think all of those create an impact. So the earlier that we can start educating people to think maybe a bit more holistically about their body, about their mind, about their soul, we can really shift the whole menopause experience.
Quite frequently. So there is the element of thinking about it at a much younger age, but equally, we don't tend to see the thread of impact as we go through our lives and into menopause.
Absolutely. It all disrupts our hormone systems. You know, our body's such a delicate balance. It's an amazing, I always call it a feat of engineering, for want of any better expression, but it's the most incredible creation, and everything works so beautifully when it's in harmony. But actually, we spend most of our lives disrupting the natural balance by everything that we feed it, mentally, emotionally, physically. And that does create an impact when we reach this transition.
Women have a real susceptibility to trying to be everything to everybody, to be the best, to be a good girl, to be head girl, you know, all these sorts of things. And we have that kind of pressure on us, both from outside and from within ourselves.
And yeah, not only are we trying to be the best and the good girl, but we're also trying to manage careers or our own businesses, or, you know, establish ourselves in the workplace, and still generally be a mother alongside it. And I think, you know, for a lot of women still taking on the vast majority of the women's roles, the traditional women's roles, and trying to juggle work, and, you know, maybe you've got parents you're caring for as well, and we're trying to do all the things for all the people, and we put ourselves at the bottom of the list because we're not encouraged to put ourselves at the top. And yet when we put ourselves at the top, we look after everyone else more easily, and self-care is never selfish.
There is obviously a whole plethora of things that women can do other than go on HRT, and I think for everybody there is an importance to start to think of those things first. And then if you are in the 25% who are having an extremely hard time, that, like I did, then HRT by all means.
Yeah, I agree. You know, for some it is the only way through, but there are so many things that we can explore beforehand or even alongside it. So whether it's that self-care, whether it's, I think definitely addressing stress issues will make a huge difference, because I know, you know, I've been very lucky with my menopause, so I'm one of the more fortunate ones. It's not been a breeze all the way through, but I consider it's been a fairly easy process. But I've been working on my stress levels for many years, so I think that's made a difference. So learning to address stress earlier on, I think, can definitely smooth the way. Learning to nurture ourselves, learning to really be authentic as well. I think all of those things help make a difference, and there's an abundance of more holistic ways to at least experiment with, whether it's oils, whether it's I used to do a lot of reflexology, so my background was a hands-on reflexologist, and loads of my clients literally eliminated their symptoms through having regular reflexology treatment. So there are so many things that we can do to support ourselves, support our body, and either avoid the pharmaceutical route, or to support it in still holistically.
So it is throughout this about understanding the complexity of your physiology, your mind, and your soul, coming back to the point that you made at the very beginning, and creating a plan, isn't it? So can you give us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I would definitely look at food, you know, your diet, and try and eat as much organic as possible. And even if you can't eat a wholly organic diet, look at the dirty dozen, and swap the dirty dozen most chemically treated foods, and at least put organic in for those. So I think, you know, putting less chemicals into our bodies in the food that we eat definitely has an impact. Again, looking at skincare, all the products that we use, a lot of those products, things like the parabens, will mimic hormones. They become sort of almost estrogen imitators in the body. So being a bit more aware of what chemicals you're putting on your body, and just because something's got a pretty flower on the front that says natural doesn't actually mean that it's always natural. So you do have to become a little bit of a detective when you're reading shampoo labels and things like that. And then bringing in some kind of, I would say, mind body thing, whether it's meditation or some yoga or some Tai Chi or Qigong or acupuncture. You know, then we've got so many things to choose from now and so much more awareness, and it's all out there and easily accessible. So bringing in things to support the emotions as well as the physical.
And looking after your inner peace, really, as much as your outer well-being.
It's counterproductive if you're doing all the outer things and yet the inner state is in total turmoil. So you know, addressing what's going on in your personal life, or whether it's your work life or whatever's creating impact, being I think sometimes brave enough to address those issues is huge. Well, the big positive though is that with menopause we do become more committed to ourselves. So that side does actually become a little bit easier.
And I love this point about the menopause and the fact that we become focused on what's important to us, and we stop putting ourselves last and start putting ourselves first. Before we close today, is there one lovely thing you can give us, Sue, just to make us feel great about it all?
Yes, embrace this phase, embrace this transition into your crone. I'd love to find a different word for that. In fact, it's related to our crown, which is our crown chakra. So it's it is a spiritual evolution. It is a time to be appreciated and revered and embraced, and learning to love it, whatever it's bringing with it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Sue. And again, it's about this amazing new book, The Potent Power of Menopause, and it's coming out on May the 11th. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you soon.